It's October 25th, 6:54 p.m. We're just 6 days away from Halloween, and that's when I have a premonition about Halloween. I always do, but particularly this Halloween. That's the day when the veil is thinnest between this earth and that of hell, that of the satanic kingdom. Now, this is something I want to see again. I've read this again. This is Albert Pike's letter. Albert Pike was a Freemason general who ruled the South in the Civil War, and he's hardly known about. He's the I put up a picture of him last time, but this is just to follow through on this letter. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. That's what we're looking at today. So he predicted this. I don't know exactly the date of the letter, but he was writing probably around the time of the Civil War. So let's say the 1860s, that's 40, 140, say 160 years ago. He was prophesying exactly what we see today of the war between Israel, that's the political Zionists, and the gathering of all of the nations in Islam against Israel. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and the political Zionists, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. We shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries. Now, that's us, the citizens. Interestingly enough, he's talking about anarchy here, which is what we have in America. He's an American Freemason. So I see this as a Freemason's plans for the world. And it's obvious to me, and this is one of the points I make continually, is that this is Babylon. This is the country that's going to face complete demolition. And it's Babylon in the sense that there are other candidates for Babylon, but if there is the most Babylonian country, meaning a country where so many people don't talk to each other and speak different languages and live in entirely different worlds. If you look at the Euphrates, or if you look at Italy, Rome as Babylon, Italy doesn't resemble the United States at all in any way, shape, or form in the year 2022 as a candidate for Babylon. What most resembles Babylon on all fronts in the description of the book of Revelation is a country where no two people are alike, and they come from different backgrounds and different heritages and speak different cultures. They're all pitted against each other. You know, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, Black Lives Matter, the rest of the lives don't matter. Then we'll have Puerto Rican pride and gay pride and this pride and the other pride. You know, how many prides do you have? You have all pride. That's the whole essence of Babylon, is vanity. It's a narcissistic society that doesn't have any use for God or interest in God other than their own versions of God. The millions of millions and millions Babylonian. And then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity. We're already disillusioned. I'm disillusioned with Christianity. I don't know about you. Whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which follows the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. And I see exactly that happening. Atheism is not atheism. I've said this countless times. Nietzsche wasn't an atheist. He was a Luciferian. He was Zarathustrian. That's why he said, "Thus spake Zarathustra." He comes from the Persian prophet god Zoroaster and Mani, M-A-N-I, who appeared in Rome as the Messiah or messianic voice. Zarathustra in Nietzsche writes the Antichrist. Nietzsche can only exist, and his writings only exist in the context of an attack, a consistent and a sustained attack on Jesus Christ. And he does believe in him, just like anybody preoccupied their whole life with God and his absence. I can say that Christopher Hitchens doesn't believe in God and is an atheist in the sense that he didn't read the Bible. He didn't have anything to do with the Bible. He doesn't know anything about the Bible. The man was an absolute sham and ignoramus. He never addressed the question himself. Nietzsche did. He wrestled with it his whole life, and he came from Christianity. So it's his wrestling with God throughout his life and finally going insane by giving himself syphilis. And now we have Satanism because that's who is ruling. You even have the Church of Satan made a tax-exempt religious organization. You have Satanism being taught in the grade schools, at the grade school and high school, and particularly at the college level. Satanism is simply the worship of man. It's to say there's no God. We'll do it ourselves. We'll have our own individualistic religious beliefs centered around ourselves. What is Buddhism about? It's about me, 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 me. What is John Lennon, Hare Krishna Hinduism about? Me, me, me. In America, it is. I don't know how it is in other countries, but it certainly is here. I'm just pointing out the consistency of this prophecy and the current day that we're living in. And here's the 2017, The Economist, and what's our religion? Well, money. Hello. Money is our religion. Isn't this it? The World in 2017, The Economist. And what are these but religious symbols, the tarot cards, and we earn money through magical belief systems. Go to your self-help section or the Christian section, which is filled with Jesus Christ CEO and prosperity and how to get $1 million by tithing to Richard this and that and the other prosperity preacher. And here is the war. Here's the Tower of Babel. That's the lightning hitting it. That's the temple being destroyed. See, that's Satan destroying the temple. There's the communists. That's who we are now. We're the communists, aren't we? That's what Joe Biden ran on with AOC and with Nancy Pelosi and with Bernie Sanders, we elected a communist government here in America with the expectation, from what I have heard, that they were going to tack back to the center and unify the country. Well, they didn't. They ran as communists and they are governing as communists. Here they are on their marching stop, blah, blah, blah. This is 2017. It's not the world in 2017. It's the world in 2022, minus Trump, because they've gotten rid of this gentleman. Okay, watch this sequence. What is this? That was an animation released in 2012, military attack on, just see the resemblance. This is a mosque, see the star, being hit with rockets in the dome, the Temple of the Dome. Where is this mosque? It's in, oh darn it, I have to go back to it, sorry. That's the mosque that was hit in the video. This is the mosque in Ukraine. This is the dome being hit and being destroyed. But what we have is the actors everything is acted in. This is Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine. He's an actor. He was just like Ronald Reagan was an actor. This is a Jewish actor who was not just an actor, but a comedian who's running the Ukraine. And he's in psychosis, is the point I'm trying to make. Just like our leadership, there he is. He's getting green screened, and he is this the real person, right? Is this a robot? Is this AI? Are these the flames of the World Trade Center bombing? Was that a real event? Was that a fake event? What's real and what's fake in this world in terms of, I'm one of those conspiracy theorists who doesn't believe that the World Trade Center was taken down by a couple planes running into the 2/3 of the way up towards the top of the building. How is the bottom of the building going to collapse from the heat? Please, that's a planned demolition. Secondly, how does the building next to it come down exactly? How does the other building come down? What was it so hot over there across the plaza that the other building, or maybe it was a sympathetic collapse? People will believe anything that they're told, and if you say that this is ridiculous, well, how could that have happened? I mean, how could they have done that? Well, how about you put explosives all through the buildings? What would somebody notice? Who would notice that the explosives were put through the buildings? Just like the Notre Dame Cathedral in France burning down, that it was it was people who left in the most secret spot that nobody ever goes to. Oh, some rags caught on fire. And then in the biggest city in Paris, filled with firefighters, if you see any other building on fire, you think you'd have one fire truck trying to put out a fire? And the Cathedral of Notre Dame, they're that incompetent. They wouldn't be putting flame retardants or anything else. Plus, it is just, there's nobody around and nobody notices. They've all gone somewhere else. The workmen have all gone and the other priests have all gone. And you see the footage, and you'll see figures. They have video footage showing figures on a figure or figures. It's cui bono. It's who will benefit, and who benefits is Satan. Let me go forward a little bit in these images. So here are two relevant biblical passages to where we are headed. Luke 21:25-28, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Matthew 24:29-31. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. And behold, 1 Corinthians 15:51-52. I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. All in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall all be changed. And that's not a reference to Donald Trump. That's part of the Christian insanity that's going on, the Christian apostasy, I like to call it, where you have all of these false messiahs and false prophets and people following them regardless of how often and invariably they have no idea what they're talking about. But that's not just resident in Christianity, it's resident in all these other fake religions who think that we're not facing any kind of real catastrophe, that we're going to release the third eye, or we're going to go off into nirvana somehow. That's not what's coming. I'm one of the people blowing the trumpet. That's the watchman called for in throughout the Bible. That's who all the prophets are. They're all watchmen. They're all warning people of the fury and the wrath that's descending. And this is obviously the case, yet there's a kind of comatose, being in a coma. It's a media-created coma where you can opt out of reality. I'm not chastising or rebuking or condemning people for that. I don't have that option myself. I've never had that option. I just see what's real. There's this interesting movie, The Truman Show, where I don't know who's familiar with it or not familiar with it, but it's like the Stepford Wives, or it's like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's always this best shown in a movie where people are watching a movie that is people watching a movie within another movie. The only person that doesn't know it's a movie is a person not watching the movie. But everybody's watching the movie, about the person in the movie, about the movie. I don't watch movies. I kind of sit back and watch the people watching the movies and see that they're watching a simulation within a simulation and taking it as real. One way or another, taking it as real. While they say they don't take it as real, they do take it as real. The reason I know they take it as real is because I listen to people every day, and not a single one of them is connected with reality. They are connected to a media reality. Case in point, I'll just bring up is this war in Ukraine. Everybody hears that the Soviets are going to release a dirty bomb. They've said that a dirty bomb is going to be released because they see that it's going to be released. So everybody believes the opposite of what the Soviets say. Now, I believe what the Soviets say for my various reasons, but to have a different opinion from the people in America is somehow uh, going to send everybody into hysterics. Who is, why would one person believing something that the mass media doesn't tell you and believes the opposite? I almost invariably, just for starters, whatever the media narrative is, I say it's the opposite. In other words, if it's the nuclear reactors are being hit by Russia's bombing their own nuclear reactor, I go automatically, I throw that out, just like I do with the World Trade Centers, like I do with the assault on the Capitol, I just throw them out immediately. Doesn't Just for sanity's sake, if they can convince me that if they have the evidence, I keep an open mind. If they have the evidence, and I listen to the evidence. Now it used to be that they had, they took a pretty good run at having convincing you they had evidence. Now there's just crazy stuff going on, completely unreal. If you know human nature, for example, somebody like Donald Trump is not trying to get a gun and trying to run, how was he going to get to the head of the assault exactly? Was he going to get out of the vehicle and run up to the head of it? Donald Trump doesn't strike me as a runner, any more than Joe Biden does. So, and since he was having the gun wrestled from his hand, he's not going to get a ride up there. Would he get an Uber maybe? He had changed that was his plan. So the media, it's almost funny, except for the fact that it's terrifying, because that people, either they believe they're completely frozen to it, or they don't see any reason to just not to believe it. They just don't think about it. They think it doesn't apply to them. Well, it applies to everybody if there's a false narrative being spread by the media where we're being given a completely false reality, meaning the entirety of the country is living inside a delusional state where they can, hit them with a little stimulus, and because the narrative is the same across the board. I looked at the news today on my Google feed or my iPhone feed on the dirty bomb story. It's exploited in different ways. Oh, Putin's in a panic because of this, or he's losing the war again, right? So that's the Guardian. You just plug in. I think if anybody is more delusional than Americans, it's the British. We come from the delusional British. We're like an offshoot, but they're the true source of complete insanity. And it's because of what I'm speaking about here, which is Luciferian deception. That's what the devil's main weapon is. It's lies and deception. And people are falling for it. I'm trying to deprogram, to the extent that I can, anyone believing in the continual Luciferian occult lie that that there's nothing going on here. that go back to your television program, go back to your favorite celebrity idol, go back to your celebrity pastor, back to your celebrity Buddhist, work on your third eye opening, work on your correct posture, work on your guitar licks, work on this is the end. Jim Morrison sang about it. He knew what he was singing about. Why people celebrate it is, or continue to not realize that there is a spiritual reality and that you are going in one direction or another into it after death. That's 2 Thessalonians 2, 8-10. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of truth, that they might be saved. Notice the centrality of truth. Truth is all that matters. Otherwise, you're following lies. If you aren't following the truth, if you aren't paring away everything, if you aren't making certain that this is true, rather than accepting the nonstop broadcast propaganda all the way across the board, in this case, that Russia is going to set off a dirty bomb. How do they know that exactly? Why is it that every single Western news broadcaster says exactly the same thing? Well, I have a sneaky suspicion that they know all about it, just like they knew all about the 9/11 event, just like they knew all about all of these, the Tonkin Gulf incident, which was a fake incident that never happened. And that's where Jim Morrison comes in, because that was Jim Morrison's admiral father who was in charge of the Navy in the Gulf of Tonkin. All these events are supernatural. So this is a war between God and Satan, and all of us are just, we don't want to see that there is a larger reality, that we're just nothing. We are nothings. I am a nothing. I'm just bringing the news of God. The word of God is just coming from me to you to do with what you will. I'm not arguing. I'm not beating anybody over the head. I'm offering you the words in the Bible, which are true, to prepare yourself for the coming of Jesus Christ in the clouds in his power and glory. And this light, this brightness, people might say it's a nuclear explosion. I don't see it as a nuclear explosion. I see it as things changing in the twinkling of an eye, and everyone will be changed. And everybody will be punished according to their sins and will stand before judgment. This is all in the Bible. If I talk to Christians about it, they seem to not know what I'm talking about. They seem to, my pastor hasn't said this. Where have I heard this before? You must be crazy. We believe in the good and loving God, and we're all going to heaven. And you must be a crazy person. Well, that might be true, but so was Jesus in that case. He's the one who said it. I'm just believing it. So either you believe in a different Jesus than I do, or you're wrong. And you're wrong, rather. And you're wrong. It's possible that I'm right. There's a possibility that I'm right, meaning that Jesus is right. That's my acceptance, is that I don't know. I'm just a guy, trying to get my way, from one part of the coffee shop to the other and get my coffee. But the conversations I listen to all day in and day out are completely detached from spiritual reality. People can say, I have spiritual, I'm with the Buddha or I'm with this, but 99% of their conversation is about the world. And if I move to this subject, very quickly gets, you know, well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk. What do you think is going to happen next week, or what do you think? Oh, yeah, well, what I think is going to happen next week is we're very likely going to have economic systemic failure. Oh well, you're being negative. I'm very pessimistic about the future of America, but unless the person, the individual, is connected to Jesus Christ, who is the Lord and Savior. And that's what I'm bringing this message consistently, and also showing where I find it in the real world, where I see the events predicted in the Bible occurring in reality, on the manifesting on the physical plane. And here are more of the prophecies. John 5:28-29. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. Daniel 12:2-3. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. And I'm trying to turn people to righteousness.
They that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever.
We are also shown a similar image on The Economist magazine's cover for the world in 2017, where death is on the scene with a nuclear explosion shown in the background. The same message is also shown to us in the movie Atomic Blonde, where the atomic bomb arrives in Berlin on November 2nd, on the Day of the Dead. This Blonde, where the atomic bomb arrives in Berlin on November 2nd, on the Day of the Dead, this being associated with what was engraved in the memories of the world on September 11th, 2001. And the car that is being chased is also a Porsche Carrera. This image would seem to align with events that could kick off on November 1st. From a godly perspective, I have often shared information on November 1st, which is referred to as the day of separation in a prophecy that was given by that they could be accounted worthy.
Watch Luke 21:36. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. November 2nd is October 31st is the Day of the Dead here. November 2nd is the Day of the Dead in Mexico, in New Mexico, and throughout the Americas now, because we celebrate Halloween and we celebrate the Day of the Dead. And what is the Day of the Dead celebrating? Well, the Day of the Dead is celebrating Saint Death, Santa Muerte. That's who the drug cartels worship. That's where all their power comes from, along with their assault rifles and weapons and bombs, and there are guns. And this is a country that's turning in against itself in civil war. That's the message that I'm bringing is there really is a civil war coming here. There, and it's not a civil war that you can prepare for with weapons and with guns and with pharmaceuticals and with all these other things that are not going to protect you against the Lord's burning rain is what you hear. There's a song by the Flying Burrito Brothers. On the 31st floor, a gold-plated door won't keep out the Lord's burning rain. That's in Las Vegas. That's Graham Parsons, who opened up for the Rolling Stones, who also died in this drug addiction. And it's the addiction to the dark. It's the addiction to lust and avarice and everything else. They're screaming it out in this hell that they're in, and they succumb to it. It's not a joke. It's not a false reality. That's reality. The real world where you act is the same as the spiritual world. You have this brief little span of time to make your decisions whether you're going to serve God or whether you're going to serve Satan, whether you're going to serve Mammon in the book, whether you're going to serve the devil, whether you're going to serve your own self, whether you're going to love yourself and your family and your friends, or whether you're going to love God. And he comes first and then everybody else comes second. And if you're not paying any attention to God, then there's no way you can do his will or know what his will is or what your purpose in life is. I found my purpose in life through God, and that's why I've given up my material preoccupations to pay attention and to bring whoever has ears to hear and eyes to see what's coming on like a freight train, into the terminal station where it's going to blow to smithereens in a catastrophic explosion. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not. There will be the rapture first, and then there will be that's when the tribulation period starts, and that's when things will become unbearable, and people won't be able to die. They'll be gnashing and people will be furious. They'll be angry because the anger is somebody's taken all this from us, and we're going to take it back. We're going to go up and kill people to get their cars or kill people to get their wealth or what have you. And if you're holding on to this stuff, then you're going to have to defend it. And that's what's called a civil war. That's why I know without a shadow of a doubt that that's what's coming to America. And the word I'm bringing tonight, it's not the same word every night, but the word tonight is prepare yourself for these events, which are starting next month at the latest. And they're already in motion. So it's not like they're going to start all of a sudden. They accelerate. Then I've felt the acceleration for the last month. It's been intense. It's not just the acceleration in what's happening outside. It's the acceleration in God showing me and pointing me to the places where the action is in the spiritual realm, which is manifesting on planet Earth because the dark angels are coming down to the earth as predicted. The demonic is coming down to this earth as prophesied. And all these alien spaceships that we see, who are they? Well, that's what I would tell you. It ain't going to be E.T. It ain't going to be, a cutesy little, we love you and we're going to bring peace. There isn't any peace coming to planet Earth. as prophesied in the Bible. The only peace is with the peace of Jesus Christ, and that's an eternal peace. It's going to be an eternal rest. That's what, when we say rest in peace, it's not going to be peaceful if you aren't protected by God, if you aren't, and you don't know who the real Jesus is, because you got your options today, and it's really up to each individual to make sure that's they've seen the right option. They're following exactly who is without sin, like a Paul or a Peter or a James. You know, I just keep saying this. You see somebody with Rolex watches and Rolls Royces, the Bhagwan Sri Rajnees, or you see them with their jets, and they're looking great, and they're living in the big mansion, and they're living on the country club and the golf course and everything else. As I was reading earlier in Leonard Ravenhill, you know. So we reiterate, modern man needs this age-old counsel: man shall not live by bread alone. If he could gain the whole world, he would still be as unsatisfied as Alexander. That's Alexander the Great, who was conquered Egypt too, right? He conquered the whole world, and crying because there were no more worlds to conquer. That's like the person who has multi-zillion dollars and they've got to go off and lose it all in a high-stakes poker game because there's no other thrill more than risking your life or risking all your money. And what do you ever gain? You gain the world, but you lose your soul. Jesus has said all this, as he said everything that there is worth saying. H.G. Wells was right in saying there is a God-shaped blank in us, or a God-shaped hole. That hole can be filled by God and by God alone. Man is so constituted that he has, quote, an aching void which the world can never fill, unquote, since man's need cannot be met by the bargain counters and the Teamsters Union, plus country clubs and hunting trips. The church must leap into this challenging gap with a banquet of soul food, meaning with not a banquet of barbecues and going off to find your spirit man or whatever this crap is, that's passing for Christianity today. Sorry about the phone beeping, but there is this obviousness to me that if you have a pastor going out to the country clubs and on hunting trips and on fishing trips, and they're not in prayer. That's not prayer, going out on to your country club and ordering and organizing round robins, and that's multimillionaires living the good life at the expense of the soul, of shepherding the souls of their flock, who are also out of the country club, because by and large, these churches are filled with people that are not paying any attention to the poor and not wanting to be bothered by watching what is happening to the poor and the people in their congregations, and where we are in this country where so many people are in need and are going down the tubes, and all the churches want to do is get. I must have my. This is always brings me down to earth. Guys, got like lighten up. Okay, I don't mean to come on like Savonarola or a fire and brimstone pastor or preacher, but it really is the time to be in prayer and having a direct relationship with Jesus, and not not mediated, not mediated through the media, not mediated through the church, not mediated through anyone, and just be talking. Call it conversation. Talk, 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 have a conversation and see, what is the point of saying you're worshiping God when you go and just sing some songs on a Sunday and tell everybody you're worshiping. Meanwhile, you're watching TV, or you're watching, even if you're watching Prophet TV, or all of that, that's just a con job. It's a, uh, it's like what would I call it? Is people saying you're going to be great, you're going to get your kingdom spouse, you're going to get money, your finances are going to. Gee, I wonder why people are watching all these celebrity pastors, or because they're all saying, "Oh, I got a word. Oh, there's somebody out there I'm talking to, and you're gonna suddenly you'll get a check in the mail and everything. Well, send me a check too, because support this ministry." So they're giving rosy scenarios for people that are hopeless, and they're going to the wrong place, because their only hope is in Jesus Christ, not in somebody telling you that it's on a YouTube channel. That's why I'm not telling you that I don't know where you're going. All I do is I do know where you're going if you're not connected with Jesus, but I don't know individually. I don't have a word that's coming down that I had a vision of somebody out there who has a fatal cancer, and he's going to get out of bed and be walking, and don't worry about it, and just pray, just keep praying, just keep praying. That's not what God's looking for. Is hey, give me the, heal me, heal me, heal me. He's looking for people that are evangelizing and bringing people to Him, and that's the mission of any Christian, is to point people to Jesus and bring people to Jesus, not bring people to your church, or not bring people to your own little discipleship. That's my understanding of what Jesus said. Even if you can bring one person or two, really, not somebody saying, I'm saved, yay, okay, everybody give him a hug. Let's have a round of applause. He's saved. Okay, go forth now and go on back to your hamburgers and love life. It's got to be God above all. It's got to be only God, and serve God and obey God. And God bless everybody tonight. And I hope you all are protected.